Let S be the set of all strings in A's and B's, and define the function capital C from capital S to capital S by C of S equals AS for each S in the string. C is called concatenation by A on the left. Now, it's really important to understand that this is not multiplication. Normally, when you have these letters next to each other, the assumption is that there's this multiplication symbol here. But actually, the operation here is called concatenation. Now, if you've taken computer science, maybe you know what this is, but if you haven't, basically what we're doing is we're taking a string, which is a series of letters of, in this case, A's and B's, and we're just adding the letter A to the front of the word. So this just means attach the letter A to the front of the word. The question is C one-to-one? Prove or give a counterexample. So we have to ask ourselves, is there any sort of way that we can get the same output using two different inputs? The answer, I think, is no. To prove that this is one-to-one, we're going to take two inputs from the domain and assume that the corresponding outputs are the same. The goal of this proof is to show that x1 actually equals x2 here. Now, according to this function definition, the rule of this function tells us that the output is ax1, and the output of this is ax2. Now, this is saying that these are the same. By that, though, we mean that they are the same string. These are strings that we're looking at. To be the same string means that every letter has to be the same on both sides in the same order. Now, x1 is not a letter, and x2 is not a letter. x1 and x2 are strings. But since both of these strings are the same, then that means all of their parts have to also be the same, meaning x1 has to equal x2. And that is the conclusion that we need to draw from this assumption here to prove that this function is one-to-one. Part B says, is C onto? So now we have to ask the question, can we get every string of A's and B's as an output of this function? This one's a little bit trickier, but the answer is no. There is an output here. There are lots of outputs, actually, that we just can't get as a result of this rule of the function. So for example, imagine we're trying to find an input here that gives us the output B. Now keep in mind, the outputs come from the set S. S is the set of all strings of A's and B's. So this is an element in the set S. The question is whether or not we can find an input here that maps to B. But keep in mind that the concatenation function attaches the letter A in front of your string here. So let's call this string X. We don't know what X is, but according to the rule of the function, the output here would be AX. And this is saying AX equals B, which is impossible. We can't get the string B by taking the letter A and adding more letters. That's not the same thing as getting the letter B by itself. So these two things are not equal to each other, which means that B is not an output, even though it's an element of the codomain, which means that this is not onto. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.